Hey guys, today we're going to talk about rim clicks or side sticking. So I'm going to show you some of the basics. We're going to talk about techniques, where to place your hand on the stick, some pitfalls to avoid, and at the end I'm going to show you some basic beats that you can use that incorporates rim clicks. So rim clicks, or side sticking as some people call it, or cross sticking as some other people call it, it's a great way to add a lot more flavor. It's very distinct. The parts that you have to write when you're doing that is very distinct from other drum beats that you'll normally write. And it's especially great for quieter passages. So this is a really good way to kind of open up the color palette, if you will, of your playing style. One of the big issues you'll face while doing rim clicks is just the inconsistency of the sound that you might get from the snare. So we're really going to focus on that front. For all these examples, I'm going to be holding the stick towards the butt end of the stick, just like you would normally play on a normal beat. You might see a lot of guys when they do rim clicks, they might flip the stick around and hold it from the tip end. But usually when I'm playing, I might be switching back and forth between just a normal beat and then a beat that has rim clicks in it. And I don't have time to flip the stick around. So all these examples I'm going to show, like I said, they're going to focus on holding from the butt end. So the first thing we want to look at is how far off the snare should the stick be? How much should it just be the tip? Should it be all the way up? This is going to have a big impact on the sound. You'll probably get a little bit of a higher pitch sound, but a lot thinner if you're very close to the tip. And if you're way up the body of the stick, then you'll probably start to lose the ability to get a lot of volume out. So I find, wherever the shoulder of the stick is, that I usually go just a little bit further in than that. Now that you know where the stick should run off the snare, make sure that you're placing the stick so that it's basically running along the diameter of the snare. You don't want to be pushing it way up top or way down below. So make sure you're basically running the diameter. I usually start, when I'm just starting to kind of develop this, I would find that if I find the two lug nuts on the snare that were opposite each other, that would be a good guide for me to kind of eyeball where the diameter was. So now that the stick is on the snare, you have the right amount of the stick falling off the snare, you're running along the diameter. You're gonna need to probably angle the stick a little bit. How you're holding it right now, it might be a little uncomfortable, especially when you go to cross over with your other stick to hit the hi-hat. So you might have to angle the stick a little bit. Now you have to make sure that you're still running along the diameter, but you have to hold it just in a place that's gonna be a little bit more comfortable where you're not gonna be straining yourself. So the next thing is, how are you gonna be holding the stick? Usually if you're just switching over from a normal snare hit, you might be holding it way down here. But I find that when you do a rim click, you need to move your hand up the stick a little bit. Additionally, most of the grip that you need to be doing is with your thumb and your index finger. The rest of your fingers, you're actually going to want to basically try to raise up. With the stick down at the bottom, you want to make sure that when you're doing the rim click, your fingers and the back of your palm, that they aren't coming into contact with the actual snare head. If they do that, it's actually going to mute the sound. One thing to note though is that when I am doing this, since I am lifting my fingers up, but my pinky here is actually staying on the back end of the stick. I'm still lifting it up so this doesn't touch the head, but this actually kind of acts as a guide. So when I lift the stick up and I'm basically pushing pressure down here and I'm trying to pull up here, having the pinky here helps to be able to do that rotation. The other thing is that you're gonna wanna practice how far up you need to go. If you're just going up a little bit, you're not gonna get that much volume. So you'll have to find the right medium, how far up you have to go. And as part of that, you're gonna have to develop how much you have to basically anticipate the beat, right? Because if you're gonna be lifting up more, you're gonna need a little bit more time to be able to make that stroke. Okay, so now that you got the stick on the snare where you want it, you got your grip correct, you've been practicing a little bit on how far up you have to go and making sure you're hitting the snare well. Now you have to start to be able to incorporate this into a beat, right? So now you're gonna have to, if you're playing on the hi-hat, move your right hand over to the hi-hat. The first thing you'll probably notice is that your left arm is getting in the way of your right arm, or where the stick is for your right arm. So we need to make a little bit of an adjustment for that. There's two things you'll have to do, right? The first thing is you're gonna have to lower your forearm. Now that might mean you might have to drop your left side of your body down a little bit so that your forearm can go down. That'll get it out of the way of your right arm. The other thing is if you're still finding that when you're playing, if you're accidentally hitting your arm, the other thing you can do is to lift your right shoulder. By lifting your right shoulder, it's gonna basically cause your elbow to come up. So your stroke motion on your right arm will be different, right? So again, you'll want to lower your left side and lift your right shoulder. And that will give you enough clearance so that you're not hitting your arms together. Okay, so let's take a look at some examples, some different drum beats that I've come up with for you to mess around with that use rim clicks. So I hope you guys found that useful. If there's other things, other techniques that you guys like to use besides rim clicks, maybe it's pressed rolls or actually playing on the rims themselves, different things that you like to do to add a little bit of flavor to your beats, I'd love to hear about them. Let me know in the comments below. And if you're interested in seeing more videos like this in the future, then don't forget to subscribe.